Just got what I'm told is a 63 AC30 in the mail. Cursory look doesn't make me want to argue with the 63. It's odd. It's had a lot of stuff cleaned off. Maybe rust taken off. Maybe looks like with a butter knife. We'll revisit that and see if we can clean that up a bit better as we go. Looks to be original tube sockets. It's got a dual 16 F and T. I'll make sure it's done right. It's got an older mercury choke. Woden on the output power transformer. So we got Woden. I'm not sure if this is Woden or Haddon. I think this might be Haddon mercury. Some missing hardware here on the power transformer. I will replace that. The slider board has had some abuse over the years. It's delaminating partially. Non-original hardware holding things in place. One is missing. Let's flip this around and take a look at the other stuff. Beautiful red panel. Aside from the Vibe Trim knob, all these knobs are replacements. I'll talk to the owner if he wants to get black ones more in line with what they would have been originally. Panel's in pretty good shape. You know, it's got scuffs, but no deformations. It's missing the selector for the voltage selector. It's probably hardwired on the other side. I'll confirm that. It's had some chewed up spots here where the nuts that would have been in here are gone, and the metal's all chewed up. I'll look at what our options are on that, because there's just no real way to get that tight to the rear panel like that. It's got the add-on top boost, which would be appropriate for 1963. Before I flip it over to show things better, I thought this would be the best angle to see this. It's got an added speaker jack. And yeah, talk about your hotel fixes. So, not sure why that was done that way. I feel like there was just a very large hole put on the other side, and this made the jack fit. So, it's not the care I would have given a 63, but someone did this. It looks like they did it on the road. Some pretty desiccated looking resistors there on the input jacks. They may be fine. We'll take a look at that. Mixture of old carbon comp and some newer occasional carbon films. Atoms for the electrolytics. Weave gold foils. Once I move the top boost card out of the way, we'll be able to see below there better. It's got SOZOs in the output and input of the phase inverter. Looks like some newer carbon comps there and some carbon films. Some burned spots on these wires. These wires have been overheated. That tag there was just kind of snapped off. Some serious what the hell solder work in this amp. I mean, let me get a pointer. Look at that joint. That just is crap. This cathode bypass cap here, sorry, has had its insulation melted off the outside. Someone touched these wires, the shielded jackets, with an iron, and that wire has been mangled. Little bits of stray stuff floating around. All these things can cause noise. Not a very careful bit of service in the past. There's some more melted stuff where things got touched with an iron. Some really fugly looking stuff around here. I'll just go stage by stage and get it all done. The grounds, most of the grounds in the preamp are made in this area. I can't quite see, but I'm not liking what I can see. Some other burned wires over here. F&T dual 8 here, or dual 10, I think it's a dual 8. Need to focus better. I'll make sure that its ground is done right. Yeah, hardwired switch. I'll make sure that it's done to the proper voltage. That doesn't look very good. That's been burned. That's been burned. Wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't quite tight to the chassis. It's had a replaced 3-conductor power cable. And there is an inline fuse holder here. I'll see it's not an inline fuse holder. It's a regular fuse holder, just soldered in place. I'll see what that is fusing, and whether it should be fused, and what fuse is in there. There's that overlarge hole for the output jack that was installed. Now, one of the things I've got to do before I take this wood panel off is, before I can take the bottom wood panel off, I've got to detach these wires. I could either loosen the speaker jack. In this case, it would be easier and faster to loosen these 2 screws and pull these wires out. I do that real quick. A little bit of melted wax off the power transformer, not too bad. I'll put this to the side. Whoever did this work hates amps and hates their owners. I don't see a single solder joint worth a nickel in this thing. The factory ones are fine. Everything that has been touched by some alleged tech is just terrible. I mean, just look at this stuff. And it's not because I'm so great. It's not about me and my ego. When I criticize things like this, it's not to make myself look better. It's to let people know what standard of work is acceptable. Case in point, this 30 microfarad screen node filter pulled out of the solder joint entirely. It's just floating around, had no ground. This tag board needs to be replaced. It's all broken. The phenolics broken. But, what's the point of having a solder joint if it just pulls out? So this, it's not a screen node, sorry. That's the filter node for the Vibrato channel, Vibe trim channel. Speaking of the top boost card, they lost it has inserts here, which are non-original to the amp. The insert's gone here, so there was no screw holding this in place. So it's been flopping around. That's not good. Oh, 1/2 watt screen grid resistors. That's cute. They're not going to make the grade. And we'll see about the original grid stoppers. Just it hurts to see this burnt wire for no damn reason. To my fellow amp techs and amp hobbyists and would-be techs, there are amps to learn on. If you get a 63 add-on top boost AC30, if you get a 67, 68 plexi, if you get a 64 twin reverb, and you don't know 1,000% what you're doing, stop. These are pieces of history, and we're just caretakers of them. If we do our jobs right, they'll outlast us, and our kids' kids will be able to enjoy these wonderful, wonderful devices. If you fuck it up because you've never soldered anything before, or has never soldered anything well, sorry. It makes me angry. And that 82 ohm bias resistor is going to have this thing a little too cold, but we'll get there later. We'll get there later. All right, so the first thing I've got to do is make a parts list of the things I know need to be replaced. These are not adequate resistors for a screen grid resistor. It's not a professional solder joint there either, with it tack soldered to that one. Kind of looks pretty beneath the blue tubing, but yeah, it's just hiding some shit. Solder back things like this. Actually, this whole little tag board needs to be replaced. That's no big deal to do. That one absolutely fried cathode bypass cap earlier needs to be changed out. And once I do a little bit of that, I'll power it on and then see where we're at that point. Why are there extra connections to this rectifier? Oh, I got it. Sorry if I'm not looking at the right place with the camera. That's what that added fuse holder is. That's the added fuse. They did a HT fuse. So that's why it's going from the rectifier pin 8, pin 8 to the fuse, and from there to here, and from here to the filter cap and the choke and the HT center tap of the not HT center tap. I can't talk tonight. Center tap of output transformer. So that's why. So if I bypass that fuse, I can move this wire back where it originally was. I think the HT fuse is probably a good idea. I might prefer to put a actual chassis mounted fuse holder. The reason that they have it over here rather than anywhere over here is just so you can change the fuse without pulling the whole thing out and taking the cover off. So, all right, mystery solved. Sorry if I'm rambling. It's a little bit late at night. I've been looking forward to getting this amp, and I've been looking forward to getting this amp out of its packaging, and it survived the trip just fine. Eventually I'll be able to say that it survived the previous tech. We'll have to clean up all this nonsense. The caps used are good quality caps. They were just used poorly.